Okay, so we are going to be talking about motivating our youngest learners, a practical approach for special education. My name is Alayna Eason, and I am a special education collaborative teacher at Willis Road. I primarily work with grades pre K to first grade. Why motivation matters in early childhood special education. Special education collaborative teacher, pre K through first grade. I'm sorry, I just put that so it would remind myself that I wanted to introduce myself that way because a lot of my strategies and things like that I go through are tailored to the younger audience, but I think that it could be useful for lots of different audiences as well. So we have sharing field test strategies plus course theories. Motivation is key for academic success, behavior, and engagement. My audience is not only educators, aides, parents of early learners, it's also the students and my coworkers as well that I work with. I think that it can be beneficial for anyone as well. Understanding the barriers to motivation. So I picked three that I thought were, I picked four that I thought were the biggest barriers that I see. We have low academic confidence or prior failure. I have a handful of kids that have been held back in kindergarten and first grade, and my students that are more socially and emotionally aware do struggle with this more. They definitely notice that there's other students that they saw last year that were in their class that are now no longer in their class and are in a different grade. And that can be a little bit difficult, especially at the beginning of the year, sort of talking through that and explaining it. But it's typically something we can get over. Sensory needs and overstimulation. Even though I am a collaborative teacher and I spend a lot of time in the gen ed setting as well, I do still see a lot of these issues. Not only am I trying to help the student navigate through it, sometimes I am also helping the teacher navigate through it. Sometimes a general education teacher has never been a collab teacher and has seen certain things. And so it is definitely things that we have to get used to and figure out so we can make sure that students are able to perform at their best and highest ability academically and socially. Lack of family involvement or support. Oftentimes I see this and I don't see it as parents not wanting to be involved and supportive. It's more so they don't know how. They don't know the outlets. They don't know even what they could do. So that's a big thing in just educating and making sure parents and families feel supported and educated and informed. Frustration with difficult tasks equals shutdown. I think we see this across all ages and all grade levels and all different types of students that struggle with learning and students that maybe don't struggle with learning still have those moments of frustration where shutdown is inevitable and motivation is lost. Next, we have our first strategy. Environment matters, creating a calm, safe, and sensory friendly space. This is huge for me. I think we've got to make sure our classrooms are calming, welcoming, fun, of course, and they can be a little bit crazy, but we've got to make sure that the environment that students are learning in that they feel comfortable. Personalized, quiet, welcoming environment, students allowed to wear headphones or other sensory things that they need, visual reminders, and flexible seating. My biggest thing with the young ones, and I try to, collaborate with my gen ed teachers, is give me all the visuals. How do you want my student sitting at the carpet? Not my student, how do you want our student sitting at the carpet? How do you expect their cubby to look? How do you want them to come in and unpack in the morning? Give me visuals, because when we're just constantly telling a student, nope, your cubby's not clean, that cubby's not clean, they need to see a visual. They need to know what you want it to look like. And I think that creates a positive environment. They know their expectation, they can do it, and you're happy with it. Increase motivation because they're feeling good about themselves. They're getting it right. But when we're constantly just, nope, your stuff is messy, we have to remember they're little. They don't know the expectations. So visuals are huge, huge, huge. I chose Maslow's theory for this strategy because safety and belonging come first. We've got to address those and make them feel comfortable and address those needs, and then we can start to see more things flourish. Next, we have strategy number 2, meet students where they are, flexibility over pacing. This is huge for me. I feel like we have gotten so caught up in standards and that we just need to push, 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 push because we have so many things to teach. And I totally see it on the teacher side. I'm not saying it's the teachers. I know they have to do this, especially teachers who are getting ready for state testing. But I often feel like we are so focused on pushing the standards and just checking off a box that we did this, that we're forgetting that if we don't make sure students know what they just learned, they are not going to understand next week and then the next week. And that's where motivation starts to drop, because they start to understand less and less. And the frustration builds up, and the motivation goes down, down. So focus on a lot of foundational reading, writing, and math. Adjust lessons to student levels, not just standards. Jumping off the wheel when needed. And then the theory, Vygotsky's, I always don't know if I know to pronounce that correctly, so I apologize if I didn't. ZPD, teach with an ability to range. What can I do? What I can do with help. It's just amazing when you change your shift. When you change your mind, when you change your shift, I'm sorry. I've recorded this like 4 times because I couldn't get it right. When you shift your thinking and you start to think differently, you're like, oh, wow, I can do so much more with a little bit of help. But I think a huge thing is we're the teachers, we're the educators. Let's meet these students where they are. Let's meet them where they are and get them as far as we can with little time that we have with them. Next, we have strategy number 3, growth mindset. Praise effort, not intelligence. Obviously, these can be not a tricky one, but a forgetful one, because of course students are making A's and we're like, yes. We're calling students up. I'm going to use sight words for my example because sight words are huge in kindergarten and first grade. And they're getting their sight words and they're getting it all, and we're praising, but I don't want that to I don't want myself to lose focus that I also have this student coming up. They are willing, they are ready to persevere, and they're focused at the table. They might not know all the sight words, but they're trying, they're sounding them out, they're doing their best. And I want to remember that that's just important as someone getting them all right. Oh, excuse me. No, ma'am. I'm so sorry. Use private encouragement after setbacks. And the theory I learned is DWIC's growth mindset. Mistakes equal learning. Challenges. Embrace those. Embrace the setbacks. Students are going to have those. But with what comes failure comes success. When there's failure, there's success. They go hand in hand. And it's often hard to realize. But we have to remind our students that we've got to just praise the effort. And I think of it, like, let's shift. Had to just take a pause and close the window. Let's shift our focus to that they are working, they are doing it. Let's shift our focus to high school. They might not be able to write that 5-paragraph essay, but they are going to do their very best to get through it. Strategy 4, build relationships, motivation through connection. This is my very favorite strategy. This is huge, and this is the biggest one that I would tell any teacher, any person, anyone. You can motivate any admin, CEO of any company. Building those relations is going to hand in hand increase motivation. Get to know each student's strengths. Belief in their potential motivates their effort. Private conversations when performance drops theory, self-determination theory, relatedness equals motivation. We are here to foster those connections, and we are here to build up their confidence, and that will hand in hand increase. I know I say hand in hand a lot, but it truly is. Building those relationships, you are going to see a positive effect in that motivation. I think back to my personal experiences growing up with my professors and my teachers. When I had a relationship with them and I knew they cared about me, I in turn cared about them. And I was like, you know what? I'm showing up for their class. I'm putting in the effort with their assignments, with their lessons. If they need, students to be interactive, I'm going to do that. Because I wanted to. I was motivated to do good. I was motivated to do the work. I was motivated to learn the concepts and the strategies and all the things. And I was motivated to turn in those papers, turn in those late night assignments because I had a relationship with them. It felt personal on both ends. And that's as young as 5 to 18, you can build those relationships. It's not going to look the same from student to student, Especially as students get older, it's harder to foster those connections as adults to teenagers. It's hard to understand them, but there has to be a relationship there. There has to be something. Some students are naturally motivated, but to foster it and to keep it, build this relationship, make those connections. Some acts of motivation. We've got Act 1, encouraging struggling student equals improvement. If you focus on that student and you put the effort in, you are going to see that improvement. Act 2, allowing flexible environment, increase focused. Giving those students that need that the option to have a little flexibility in their learning. When you give a little bit of control, you see a positive effect. Give a little independence and see how it works. Theories used: growth mindset, ZPD, SDT. Outcome: small changes equals big impact. Adapting strategies for all students. Striving readers and writers, those students that are struggling, simple text and visuals. Bilingual learners, include home language when possible. You could also include some, for lack of better words, a little cheat sheet card, possibly with English words that they're struggling with. And then on the flip side, that word in their native language to help foster the connection. Gifted, add enrichment opportunities. You have a student who's reading at a higher level, or you have a handful. Take a text, throw it into chat, GPT, use that AI as we need, ask them to level up and give that paper to that student so it's more challenging to read. Students with exceptionalities, sensory breaks, visuals, assistive technology, all of those things, giving those opportunities, fostering those needs, you're going to create motivated learners. Motivation and action. Praise cards or stickers, literary activities based on student interests, huge. Find out what your students like. Whether it's a one-on-one and you've got to go a little bit extra mile to create a whole separate assignment. Particularly for me, I do that because I only have my 10, typically my 10 students on a caseload. It's much easier for me to individualize that, and I totally recognize that. I get to go in the skills block and I get to tackle those IEP goals that are so individualized, and it's just like I feel like I'm attacking something they need so well. And so I'm willing to make those individual things. Problem solving stations with real life tasks. I feel like that's awesome for older kids. Trying to bring in so much real life experiences into the classroom is super cool. Visual progress trackers and choice boards. Choice boards are amazing. You have a student pick out what they want to do, and it's like, okay, first we're going to do our work, and then you get to do your preferred task. The motivation, it flies through the roof. Sometimes you do have to slow them down a bit, but it's amazing what it can do. Praise charts are wonderful. They're visual. They're customizable. You can use any kind of stickers, stamps, whatever is, a preferred character for them, a preferred animal. I love those. I use those with pretty much every kid, whether motivation is an issue or not. It's always nice. What I've learned: motivation is not one size fits all. Each kid is going to look different. Their motivation level is going to be different. Each day is going to look different. You have to adapt to the kid. Build relationships first. I feel like that's the number one. It was strategy number 4, but I feel like it's the first thing that every teacher and educator should do. And everything else you can kind of place where it works. Set clear, reachable goals, and students respond to belief, structure, and flexibility. Just because you're making all these adjustments to strategies and different things doesn't mean that structure isn't still a huge deal in making sure students are successful. Lastly, we can make a difference. Meet students where they are and build from there. Small shifts equal major breakthroughs. Try these strategies and adapt them to fit your classroom. Adapt them to fit you as a teacher as well. Adapt them to fit this group of kids, and then change it for that group of kids. Teachers are some of the most adaptable people in this world to me, because everything is changing year to year, whether it's our admin who's changing things, our districts, our states, whether we meet a whole new kids each year and we get to learn 20 plus. I know high school teachers learn 80 plus, maybe even more different kids each year, and we figure it out and we make it work. Let motivation guide your practice, and remember, the focus is the students at the end of the day, and that is what we have to keep focusing on. And lastly, I found this really I loved this quote when I was researching for this project. Every child can learn, just not on the same day or in the same way. I thought that was really telling. So just finding what works for your classroom and finding what works for your kids and finding what works for you and sticking with it and running.